Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel or welcome back to my YouTube channel. On this video we are going to look at list lookup, or how to retrieve information from a file you have from another column based on the selection you've made. And so if you remember, we said that the columns you need to have on your choices sheet, the major ones you need to have is name, which is the unique identifier, like the ID, and then you have the label, which is what displays to the user, and then you can have additional columns. And here I have an example of something I've added here. So the name is Abia, the label is Abia State, but then it has another attribute called capital, which is the capital of that state. And that's consistent for everything. At the same time, I also have another CSV file that has something similar, but with more information. We're going to look at how to use the list lookup and then retrieve any of these details within your form and then use it to either display to user or do anything with it within your form. So here we have a table. This is just a population data and also zonal information about all the states in Nigeria. So all the 36 states plus the FCT. So we have Abia as the name, and then the label is Abia State. The capital is Umuahia. It's within the southern eastern zone of the country, and then this is the estimated population, and this is what we have for all 37 entries. You could have, of course, with this you can understand that you can have more table. You can have a larger table, let's say ID of all staff with their details in terms of date of birth, age, and other attributes that you would have for them. Now what we have here on this form is we have a question which asks you to select state. Now I've uploaded my form, so let's refresh this and see exactly how it appears on our to see exactly how it appears. So let's refresh. Now if we go into our form, what we would see we have is so I added an appearance here. I think I did mention I added an appearance of minimal, so that's the reason why we have seen it minimal, so it doesn't become too long of that 6 options. So I added the minimum, and I also have the filled list, which is the reason why we have all the 2 questions displayed together here. So the moment I come here, so based on this, I think let me scroll back. So we have the calculation question here. So the moment I scroll down to see, let's say Bauchi State, it says the capital of Bauchi is Bauchi, right? But let me select something different. So let's select Abia as we had earlier. So here it says the capital of Abia is Umuahia. So now we've done that, we've retrieved. So with this you can retrieve any information within your form, and then you can use it of course to either display to the user, to use it as a default to pre-populate a particular section, or to use it to make other calculations, for example. Now the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to now use this CSV that we have here, the CSV I showed us here, this particular CSV, this CSV file here. But what I want us to do is, based on the state that is selected, I want us to retrieve the population. But one thing to note is this: within our form, what we reference is this sheet, right? Even though the options are similar because they have the same base, the list of states here, the name and label are all the same. And if you watch our previous video on how to have an XML CSV file for choices, you would understand how we got about this. You can watch that video to see exactly how you're able to create this or use this. But one thing to note is, if you want to retrieve a particular entry, a particular value, a particular variable from a CSV that is attached without selecting an option there, you can actually do that, and that's how we're going to do. Let's introduce a question type we haven't looked at before, which is CSV XML. So I'm going to just create another question here just after. So I'm going to create 2. So the first I'm going to create 2 cells here. What I'm going to do here is this: I'm going to create a file called CSV XML. What I'm saying is I want you to look. I want to parse an XML CSV. What's the name of the CSV? Let me draw my CSV file again back here to see. In my own case, the CSV file is states_POP, which is states population. So I'm going to have that here, states_POP. Now what I'm doing here is I'm telling XLS, look, I want you to get a XML file states.csv. Now what I want to do is use the similar method of what I did here to retrieve the population, right? To retrieve the population. So what I'm going to do here is called est state population, right? That's the calculate question. So I'm going to use similar thing here, but in this scenario I'm going to use something a bit different. Now in our own case, what we're looking for is not states capital. We're looking at the we're looking at a traces sheet, a list name called states.pop. It's an external one, but it's still the list name, right? So I'm going to say states underscore pop. So I want you to look through that, but in this case we don't want to use the name column to filter, right? We don't want to use the name, we want to use the capital to filter. So what we're saying is, instead of looking through and filtering based on the state, use the capital, because no two states also have the same capital. So the state and the capital are in their own ways unique values. So instead of having name here, instead of having name column here, I'm going to use the capital column here. What I'm saying is, use the column for capital to filter. How do you filter it? Then use the state's capital, what you retrieved here earlier. And then based on our file, our population is labeled est population. So that's the value we want to retrieve here. We want to retrieve the estimated population. So the only difference, I think, from what we did earlier is, for this particular sheet, what we have here is we're filtering the item we're using to filter, because if you looked at the instance lookup before we replaced all the variables with what we wanted, this particular section here where we have capital equal to says filter variable. It says what it displays there for us. Let's look at it. It says match property. What property would we want to use to match, and then equal to exactly what we want to match. So our match property is capital. Use the capital to match to find the entire item. So now I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this, but what I'm going to do is also bring my ODK Central page here, so we see exactly what happens. So this is my edit page. I'm going to upload. You can see here there's no attachment, but once I upload my CSV file, once I upload my XLSForm, it's now going to say, because I have a question called CSV XML, it's expecting a CSV XML question. Upload anyway, and so it's asking me for a file called states_pop, because we specified it here. And for that, I have the file saved here, so I'm also going to drag that and drop here. So I'm going to upload the file, move this out of the way, and then we're going to publish our form. Now we're going to make one more addition to our form here. I think we didn't add that, so we're going to say the capital of the state you selected is this, and the population is approximately, because the population is actually a projection, so we're going to also reference the population. Now our population question is this. Now that we have this, let's see how this works. So let's re-upload our file. I think we've uploaded the first time before adding this, to see how it prompts us to upload a file called states_pop, because we already specified that it should pull an XML file. So this is one of the ways you do one of the ways you use CSV XML. You use it primarily if you want to use a list, an external CSV, without having to select an option from the traces sheet, if that makes sense. One of the ways, if you look at the ODK documentation, is where, for example, you have a barcode or a QR code you're scanning. You don't want the user to go through the list of codes to select 10185. You already have a barcode that you can scan, and then you source the barcode and you use that barcode as a filter, or as a filter for what to retrieve. I'm going to link that in the description so you can see how that works. So let's discard this form and fill this form again and see exactly what we have. So if we refresh, what you'd observe is now we're going to select Anambra. Sorry, I think our refresh didn't work. Let's refresh again. Aha, yeah, we have that now. So if I select Borno State, for example, you can see it says the capital of Borno is Maiduguri and the population is estimated this way. So this is one of the ways you are able to retrieve an item within a choice sheet you have, or within a CSV file, within a table, and you can use it. It's going to come in very handy when we begin to discuss entities, to understand how you're able to pull to pull values you already have within a CSV file. So with this now, it's very dynamic. If you have a table that's very large and someone selects a particular option, for example, you have a table of farmers with their names, their location, or the number of hectares they have, what they farm, you can always retrieve that using this. Now, another lookup function, which is only recommended to use if you have a very large file, and I think in the documentation, I haven't seen it in a while, but you can look through the documentation to see exactly what is pool data, right? Pool data is also another expression you're able to use. You're able to use to also retrieve a particular data. So what we're going to do is going to replace this particular instance lookup we have for population with this pool data. So let's do that here, and then see how that happens. And then we're going to refresh and see. Now with pool data, one thing that this doesn't show, but it's something that I've come to learn after trying, is everything except for this last item needs to be in quotation mark, even though this doesn't show it and you might not see it somewhere close. So I'm saving you the hassle. So what I'm going to do is select pull data from where? Where do you want to pull data? I want to pull from this particular CSV file called states.pop. Mind you, any list name you're using that is an XML, any list name that you're using that is in an XML file that you do not select anything from, you have to use CSV XML to prompt your XLSForm and ODK to actually use that CSV file. But if for example, we had a question that says select one from file states_pop.csv, then we don't need CSV XML. So use CSV XML if you're not selecting, but you want to use the file, you want to parse it. So that's one thing. So the desired property, as we had mentioned, in our own case, our desired property is capital. That's what we want to use to filter. No, our desired property in this case is estimated population. As I had mentioned, everything should be in quotation except for the final item, which is referencing a question within your form. And then match property, in our own case, we want to match using the capital column. So capital, and then finally what you want to use to match, is state capital here. So we're going to do this, copy state capital. Yes, so basically what we're saying is pull data from states POP. We want estimated population, filter using capital, and the question to use to do that filter, or the variable to do that filter, it states capital. So whatever the capital is, go to capital, find whatever capital has been selected here, then pull the population. And you're all doing that in the states population sheet. So we're going to save this and upload this. So just to understand how it works, it's going to have the same effect. We're not going to see any difference than what we saw earlier. The idea is just to understand that you have two types of lookup and to know how to use both. I primarily only use instance. I think I just know how to use pool data, but I have never used it in live data collection before. I think maybe because the data I use hasn't grown that much, but it's good to know how to use it, just in case within your workflow it's something that you need, especially if your data grows and you have more than, say, 50,000 records or 5,000 records. So I'm going to refresh, and you can see we have a newer version. Yeah, just this minute. And so it's the same thing, of course, we're going to see. So let's select Bauchi again. Yes, and then let's select Kaduna. Yeah, the capital of Kaduna is Kaduna, and the estimated population is 8,324,285. So you can see how it works. So you can use this to look up any value within your form if you have a unique variable. It's primarily one of the reasons why your name column has to be unique. Because if your name column is unique, which is your unique ID, it means you can look up any value within your table and you wouldn't have any issue. So this is one of the ways to do lookup. I hope you've been enjoying these videos so far. This is one of the videos I wasn't really sure if I really got across, so I would really love your feedback on if you really got this or you didn't, and if you didn't, what could have been better. I wouldn't mind doing another video for list lookup just so that we get the concept very well. If you've come this far, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you engaging with the content and the channel, and see you in the next one.